Confidence, parts. Can you explain, please, the model of parts and the parts conflict that is in existence when someone has the skills but is afraid to present because they gonna look like a fake?
Okay, switching from gesture ego state to
Teacher.
teaching ego state. Ego states, also known as parts in NLP, also known as subpersonalities. Most of the work came from Paul Federn, who's a compatriot of Freud. It went on through Watkins and Watkins, who were husband and wife psychologists. A lot of the work came out of Gordon Emerson who's a psychologist. Emerson did some great work, and he said the different personality parts we have are not psychological constructs. They're physically part of the brain. They're part of your actual brain. They're neurological pathways, electrochemical pathways in your brain that fire habitually, and only one of them can be executive, which means connected to your prefrontal cortex at any given moment. So they're digital. We are digital beings. When that one is pushed out by a stronger ego state, ding, that's the one that takes the executive.
So it's neural pathways.
Yeah.
They're not actual parts. I mean, there are molecules
like your
that make
actual
up
things.
There are molecules that are active, happening. There's sets of molecules in your brain. But when we say parts, we're using a metaphor here to create a model that there's a part of you that's the teacher. You're activating certain neural pathways in your brain when you're behaving in that way.
Yes, and some of them know about each other. Some haven't spoken up in years. You have 50 to maybe 150 different ones who use the same 5 to 15 over and over and over. And you'll have some that like to zone out in front of the TV. Some will tell you when you're hungry. One will tell you when you're tired and it's time to go to bed. One will send you into a room to get something. You arrive in a different ego state. You can't remember what you came in for. It's a different one. And the more integrated you are, in our opinion, the more it means that the ego states have neural pathways connecting them so they know about each other as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing a profound teaching on this with our small group mentoring tomorrow. For MMHA Engage.
Right.
So MMHA.
If you'd like to join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy, you can join for free on trial.
Right.
Go to our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com.
So,
end of commercial.
What you're saying is, you mentioned, though, that sometimes they get in conflict with each other. And we'll hear this in people's speech patterns. I want to go on that vacation to Panama. I really want to go. And there's that ego state. And they say, but I guess I should save the money. So that's, you see, even the physiology, the vocal tone, everything switches as the other ego state becomes executive. When there is a conflict, we'll run into this all the time.
Parts can be in conflict. And often when we want to resolve this, we want to get the parts in alignment.
Now, I'm just trying to understand and failing horrendously, Chris, which, as you can imagine, is very difficult for me to admit. But how were you tying this in?
Oh, well, okay. So as we talked about, I know, it's just memories fading. It's,
What? He's hit me. Carry a blade, buddy.
Remember when we talked about this yesterday in the chat, we were talking about the idea that there's a part of you that says, hey, like, I know this and I want, what does one part want? It wants, let's say, to present as expertise, to build a better life, to help people. Let's say as a therapist, I know NLP, I know hypnosis, I can help you. And you want that. You want to feel that contribution to society or whatever it is that you've helped somebody, right? But then there's a part of you that's afraid to fail. You with me on that?
I am.
So and that's the conflict. There are different parts. Now, which part, it's like in my mind, I'm thinking there's a jujitsu fight to the death here.
Yeah,
and
it's not.
To submission. Which part is submitting and going,
the strongest one is the one that will become executive. Yeah.
Right. So we need to build up the resources of the other part, get the parts to work together as a team or do whatever to make sure that the part that wins out is the part that's actually going to go out and help people.
But you want to eliminate conflict between different ego states.
So let's talk about that.
The key is you want the best one for the job to be executive at any given time. I've got one of my favorite ego states that I have. I call it my James Bond state. And this one I've negotiated with it to become executive instantly in the case of a life-threatening emergency until the emergency's over. And it's only happened once since I asked it to do this. And Heather and I were on the 401, which is the busiest highway stretch in the world through Toronto, in North America, through Toronto. It's 16 lanes wide. And I was flying along there like Jack the Flyer. And some dick in front of me had like a dresser or something on the back of his truck, and it wasn't held on. It fell off.
Oh, man. Right, was he spilling coffee on his shirt while he was driving?
I don't know. But it was a different kind of dickishness. But it fell right in front of us, and the lanes are busy. Instantly, that state became executive. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-ba-da-dum.
And then Mike.
And I just went around him like that. And my wife said, that was really good driving. And I went, heart rate's not elevated.
Yeah, just boom, there you go.
That's having the right ego state executive. You have a heroic ego state. You have an ego state that's really good with little kids or babies. It may not be executive
how do
if
you
you don't have
activate
kids.
it?
You learn to build bridges towards them.
You know what I like is when you put your when you did your
time.
James Bond ego state that
Yeah.
was merged with your Jester ego state in Heathrow at the hotel when we were walking out to go for dinner with the group. And remember you?
Oh, buddy. No, that was my SAS ego
Yeah,
state.
yeah.
Listen to this one.
I call it James
We're
Bond.
leaving the Hilton Hotel or something. We got a group of like 12 or 14 people following us because that typically happens with Chris because we're huge stars.
Yeah,
So
14.
we're leaving the hotel. There was a bunch of people come out for dinner together, and we're trying to find our way out. We're coming out the front door of the hotel, and they're all in a bunch together, rushing together.
Because of the revolving doors. We're all
Revolving door. I get
bunched
to the door
together.
first, pull it out, grab my phone, and I said, Alpha 2, we're leaving the hotel. Hostages coming out front door now. It was fantastic.
It was good. This is why we have
We're at work
so much
right
fun.
now. We are at work
Right
at
now.
this moment.
This is great.
Now,
Okay.
listen, buddy. I urge people to look into ego state work. It's absolutely empowering.
Mhm.
It's a very useful thing. And one of the problems is when an ego state becomes dissonant, when one is executive that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And you saw me treat this in one of our classes with one of our students who is an excellent presenter, but sometimes he'd get there, even in a completely supportive, non-threatening room, and he said he'd cave.
Yeah.
And he had an ego
yeah.
state that called itself plant.
Yeah, plant.
Like it could be stepped on, a little plant.
Yeah.
And it was afraid.
And then there was the background ego state
It called Lionheart.
Lionheart.
And that was the one that took
And
me.
it wanted to roar and
it
be
was-
powerful.
And we gave that one the authority to take the executive. Anyway, I'm going to do some more work on this. This discovery I've found
was cool.
is just awesome. I'll talk about it